Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Stephen Brown, and in today's video, I'm going to allow myself to talk about Mitch Marner. And the reason I say allow myself to make a video about Mitch Marner, because there's not really news, there's just more things to get upset about because the contract hasn't been signed yet. I can only hold in the rage inside that builds with every Chris Johnson and Elliot Friedman tweet for so long until I have to get on camera and just talk things out. Otherwise, I don't know what's going to happen. This is an excerpt from Elliot Friedman's 31 Thoughts. I'm just going to read the highlighted parts. It's tense and personal. My belief is Toronto is willing to go to an $11 million AAV, but only if he signs for 7 years. Marner's representatives pitched a 3-year contract with a structure similar to the Werenski setup, with the third season being as high as $15 million. However, Friedman does not think that this is still relevant, but let's still explain that ridiculously high number in the third season. So up on the screen right now is a breakdown of Zach Werenski's contract. And in the first season, his total salary is $4 million. In the second season, it's $4 million. But in the third season, it's $7 million. And that's the really important number. Mitch Marner and Zach Werenski both debuted in the 16-17 season and are set to become a UFA at the exact same time. So by signing this 3-year deal, Werenski set himself up where he only has 1 more year of RFA eligibility before becoming a UFA. And in that 4th year, because his salary was $7 million in the last year of that contract, that means that Columbus has to submit a qualifying offer of at least $7 million to him in that 4th season. So the contract is effectively a 4-year deal with a 4th season for $7 million at the bare minimum. Now, I'm not going to try to explain the CBA because I don't quite understand it myself, but the way that this works is a player's salary can't fluctuate too much from year to year. So if a player signs a 2-year, $10 million contract, you can't pay him $1 million one year and $9 million the next year. So to even make it possible for Marner to earn $15 million in that 3rd year, his annual average value would have to be somewhere around $10.5 million on a 3-year contract. But it wouldn't really be a 3-year contract, it would be a 4-year contract with that 4th year being superficial. It's kind of added on sneaky in the background, because then he would force the Leafs to pay him at the minimum $15 million in that 4th year, because it has to be equal to his salary that he earned in the previous season, like I explained with Zach Werenski. But then there's this from Chris Johnson. I think they've even talked to some other teams still to see if there's a potential for an offer sheet. If there was, with an ascending pay structure, it would be very favorable to them. Now, this is where it gets really frustrating for me, because William Nylander got absolutely ripped to shreds during his contract negotiations, and then Matthews didn't really get ripped on, but there were people that were very sour with how things went and what the number ended up being. Now, I won't try to convince you that those contracts were discounts, because they definitely weren't. But what I will say about them is that it's very feasible to believe that both players will be worth more money 5 years from now than what they're making right now. And that's just inflation. So the team and the players came together and worked out a compromise that worked for both sides. Less years for the player, a lower AAV for the team. Now, in John Tavares' case, he straight up took a discount. The Sharks offered him around $13 million a year, that's well noted, and he chose to sign with the Leafs because this is where he wanted to be. Mitch Marner is definitely not taking a discount, and he's definitely not coming to a compromise with the team. Like Elliot Friedman stated, this is tense and it's personal. Him and his camp are genuinely seeking out other teams to offer sheet Mitch with that ascending pay structure for him to capitalize on that really lucrative 4th year. And it's just not negotiating in good faith. They're strong-arming the Leafs, and they're not looking at the bigger picture here. And don't tell me he just didn't know any better or he's choosing to stay out of the negotiations. His name is actively being dragged through the mud in this city. A city where he has a brand and a personal tie to. I don't buy that. Ignorance is not an excuse in this situation. Which is what makes this so frustrating, because there's no way that he doesn't know what's going on, which makes him complicit with this whole thing, and that's very, very disappointing. which is why, as of this moment, I'm officially out. I'm not going to be talking about it anymore. I don't want anything to do with it anymore. It's going to take a lot for Mitch Marner to make me a fan of him again, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels like that. And right now, the only thing that I'm wondering is, where is the point of no return with the majority of the fan base? Is it when training camp starts? Is it opening night? Is it 5 games into the season? Is it 10 games into the season? Is it December 1st? Is it to the point where the Leafs cannot actually afford to pay him? Because with the Leafs starting the season using LTIR, they won't be able to incur cap space, meaning there is an actual cutoff date to when they won't be able to afford to sign Mitch Marner anymore, without, of course, making a trade off their roster. But at that point, nobody's going to be lining up to help them. But let me know in the comment section what your feelings are towards Mitch Marner, and let's try to keep them relatively civil. That's going to be it for this one, guys. Make sure to like the video and subscribe for more, because more is always on the way. And guys, as always, take care.